Hey guys, welcome to day 13 of 15 days to Spring Boot Mastery Challenge. In today's challenge, let us learn to build a REST API for a product domain in an e-commerce application. This application will be integrated with the database. My dear guys, this is the GOAT project of our challenge. This video is intense. In this video, we will be developing our application using layered architecture. We will be creating our REST API with different mappings. We will be performing CRUD operation with the database and also test the REST API using Postman. But this application will be very interesting to do because we have already done the backend part. We will be attaching the backend part to our REST API and we will be performing all the operations. So, without any delay, let us get started. Guys, we are going to build a REST API for our product application. The domain model that we will be working with this product. If you are following my challenge, you know that already we have done the backend part. That is, we are having a solid service and repository layer which is performing all the CRUD operations by connecting to the database. Now, here we will be integrating that application to our REST API. So, for that, first let us see the flow of our application. In this case, whatever request is coming in, based on the URL, it will come to the controller. The controller class that we will be creating is product controller. And this is a REST API, so we will be annotating with @REST controller. Now, from this product controller, we will make a call to the service layer. We have the service layer and the repository layer. From the product controller, we make a call to the service layer. Here, we will have iProduct service, which is the interface, and product service IMPL, which is the implementation class. This class is responsible for handling the business logic. From the service layer, we will make a call to the repository. Because we are working with data.jpa, we will have only the interface that extends JPA repository and it is annotated with @repository. This repository is responsible for performing database specific operations with the database. Whatever result is coming is given back to the service layer. The service layer is responsible for taking care of the business logic, performing certain conversions, handling exceptions. After that, the result is returned back to the REST controller. This controller is responsible for returning the response to the client. The response is nothing but the resource that is requested by the client. The response can be a list of all products or list of products by a particular category or one single product or a string value. It can be anything. The purpose of product controller is to return the response. I hope this sequence is clear. Now let us see the packages that we need for our application. com.productApp, which has the main class, which is responsible for bootstrapping your Spring Boot application. com.productapp.controllers. This has all the controllers in this particular application. In our case, it is product controller. The next one is com.productapp.service, which has the interface and the implementation class. iProduct service, which is the interface. Product service IMPL, which is the implementation. Then com.productapp.repository, which is responsible for performing database specific tasks. Here the interface is iProduct repository. Other than that, we also have our model class com.productapp.model, where we will have our product class. and product DTO and product mapper. We also have one other package to handle the exception, com.productApp.exceptions, product not found exception. This class extends runtime exception. Okay, these are the packages that we need in our application. Okay, what are all the dependencies that we need? Because we are creating a REST API, we need web dependency. We are integrating our application with the database. For that, we need data-jpa module. We are using MySQL database, so we need MySQL driver. To avoid boilerplate code, we need Lombok. Because this is a REST API, I don't want to relaunch the application again and again, so we can also add dev tools. So these are the dependencies that we will be adding in our application. Guys, together with all this, remember to provide the configuration details in application.properties. This time, rather than using properties file, let us use YAML. Now, let us start the coding part. You follow along with me. You try doing the application together with me. Let me open Spring Tool Suite. Let us create a Spring Starter project. File, New, Spring Starter project. Let me give the application name as Spring Product App -REST API. Type is Maven, packaging is jar, Java version 21, language is Java. Group ID is com.productapp.dist. Package is com.productapp. Click next. The dependencies that we need are web, data-jpa, MySQL driver, Lombok and Spring Boot DevTools. And click finish. Now the application is getting created. Now my application is ready. First let us create the packages. Select the package, right click, new class. Let us first start with the controller class. So the package name is com.productapp.controllers. The class name is product controller. This class should be annotated with @REST-controller. We need to create 4 more packages and add the appropriate classes. My dear guys, already we have created a standalone application for performing CRUD operation with a database. That particular application is having all the packages that we need. So you can directly go to that application and copy all the packages. If you have directly bumped into this particular video for creating a REST API, no worries, you can create each and every package and start writing the code. So let me go to this particular application, Spring Boot Product App. I will open this, src main Java. Here I am having the service package, repository, model, exceptions. Copy this. Come to Spring Product App REST API. Keep the cursor in Product App, Ctrl V. Now all the classes are copied to this particular application. Let us cross check whether all the classes are available. To start with, let me open the model class. The model class is having product, which is our domain model. All the annotations that is needed for application is already available. My dear guys, I am going to work with the same product table which we have created in the standalone application. Next we are having product DTO, product data transfer object. This class is responsible for getting the data from the front end and send it to the service layer. The service layer will convert the DTO object into an entity and send it to the repository for getting it saved in the database. Similarly, when the data is coming from the database, it will be a list of entities. You need to convert the list of entities into a list of DTO object and then give it back to the client. To perform these conversions, we have also created a mapper class, product mapper class. The next package is exceptions package, where we are having one single class product not found exception, which is extending runtime exception. Okay. Next is our service package. In the service package, I have the interface and the corresponding implementation class. Remember to annotate the implementation class with @service. All the methods are implemented properly, meaning to say that I am calling the methods of iProduct repository. This is my repository interface. This is what we are having in our application. When a request comes in, based on the URL, it will enter into the controller. From the controller, we will call the method of iProductService. Internally, this class which is annotated with @service will be called. From the product service IMPL, we will call any of the method of iProduct repository. The implementation class for iProduct repository will be created in the runtime by Spring Boot, and the operation specific to the database will be carried out properly. Again, the result will be returned back to the service layer. The service layer will return the data back to the controller. If you notice, in this particular application, this backend part is done completely. So what is left out? The controller class is responsible for providing data to the calling client. When a client is sending a request to get the list of all products or list of products by a particular category or one single product, in all these cases, the controller is responsible for calling the methods of product service. So, the code that we are going to write is only in the controller class. The controller class methods will have the appropriate annotation. Okay. Now let me go back to Spring Tool Suite. Let me open product controller. So this is the place we need to write the methods to call the appropriate methods of the service layer. How to get the methods? I will tell you an easy approach. Open iProduct service. Copy all the methods that are available over here. Come to the controller class and add it. Okay. We need to do few changes. Of course, we will start doing it. Guys, when we were performing CRUD operation in a standalone application, we were calling the methods of service layer from the main class. In this case, we will be calling the methods of service layer from the controller class. So, I need appropriate methods. Rather than creating the methods all by myself, I am copying all the methods of service and I will modify it over here. Okay. Now, we need to do the changes. Let us do it step by step. First, we will change the semicolon into curly braces. Control F, replace it with curly brace. If you select all the semicolons will be converted into curly braces, including your imports. If you are okay with that, you change it and then modify it. Let me just give replace all. Again, now I need to go to the top, change the imports. Luckily, not all the classes are imported, so we are having only 3 imports to be modified. Let me remove the comments which I don't need it. Okay. Import all, Shift Control O. Now the initial step is done. Next, let us start writing the mapping annotations for all the methods. Okay. Let me first start with add product. In case of add product, it should be annotated with @post mapping. Within curly braces, I need to provide the URL. How will you give the URL name? The URL name should be either in lowercase or in snake case. Based on the domain model in which you are working, you need to provide the plural of your domain model. My domain model name is product. So this should be products and it should be in lowercase only. So let me have it as products. Guys, we will write the skeleton and then we will complete the coding part. Next is update product. Whenever I want to update the product in the database, in that case I need to use put mapping. So let me add at put mapping annotation, within which I need to pass the URL pattern. Here also I need to give the same name /products. Will there be a conflict in this case? Not at all, because the first one is post mapping, the second one is put mapping. Next, delete product. So let me go and add at delete mapping annotation. Again here also let me give it a /products. We will modify all these annotations later on. First let me add only the skeleton. Get all products. This means I need to retrieve the data from the database. So obviously you know what is the annotation. It is get mapping. This also is /products. My dear guys, you please understand, you cannot give any name you want for your URL. The naming convention should be maintained properly. The naming conventions usually start with the domain model name in lowercase and also plural. In my case, the domain model is product, so I have given it as products. Okay. There might be multiple REST controllers in one single application, as in card controller, product controller, user controller. I want to give a unified path for product controller. So, above the class also, I can add one more annotation as at request mapping within curly braces /product-API. What I am informing Spring Boot is, if any URL starts with product-API, then only allow that particular request to enter into this method. If you are working with card controller, you can start the URL with card-API. If you are creating user controller, then the URL can start with user-API. And of course, you need to provide the version also. Let us have the version as /v1. Okay. Now let me scroll down. All the other methods are returning data. So all the methods will have the annotation as at get mapping only. That is okay, fine. Now what next? From my method of controller, I need to call the methods of service implementation. This means I need an object of service implementation. So, in the product controller, let us add an instance of iProductService. Add iProductService as instance variable. That is as dependency. Let me add it, private iProductService. Product service. And this should be annotated with at auto-wired. Either you can use field-based auto-wiring or setter-based auto-wiring or constructor-based auto-wiring. Okay. Now guys, before seeing post, put and delete mapping, let us complete all the get mapping methods. Okay. I will start with the first method, get all products. Within the curly braces, using the product service, let me call the method of product service IMPL. Product service dot get all products. This returns a list. So let me have the return type. If you notice, in the controller class, the return type of all the getter methods are list of product DTO. This means already we are doing the conversion in product service IMPL. For get all products, first I am getting the product entities, converting the list of products into list of product DTO objects. Guys, again I am repeating, if you have bumped into this video directly, please watch my previous video where we have performed CRUD operation in a standalone application using Spring Boot. Okay, let me come back here. Now the first method is done. I will do this method also last, that is get by ID. We will move on to the next method. Guys, if you notice, all these methods whatever we have copied is throwing product not found exception. How will you handle exception in a REST API? There is a completely unique and different approach to handle exception in a REST API. We will not be covering it as a part of this video series. I have created a separate video on this particular topic. It is very intense. You need to learn it in detail. So you can go and watch that particular video. As of now, let me remove this exception part. The client application is trying to get the list of products by brand from this particular REST API. So let me have it as /brand. This is my path variable. What is the URL with which the client has to call this REST API? It is http://localhost:8080/ above the class we are having two URL patterns. Let me copy that. Again /products/brand/the brand name Samsung. Okay. Here we have used path variable. So directly I can add at path variable annotation within which I will pass brand. We are not handling the exception. So let us call the method directly product service dot get by brand by passing the brand. Let me add the URL for get all products also. So in this case get by brand and name containing. This time also I will be using path variable. Let me have the URL pattern as products/brand. This is the original value. Then again /product name / within curly braces product name. Whatever you are seeing within curly braces is the value that should be provided by the client. And let me call the method also return product service dot get by brand name contains. Okay, and how the URL will be in this case? /brand Samsung again /product -name / here we are using name contains. This means the product name should contain certain characters. Maybe we will have it as phones. Okay, we'll move on to the next method. Get by category. So let me copy this URL pattern. Product/category. This time for this let us use request param. This means the client is sending the value for category using a text field. When you open any e-commerce application, on the top you have a search text field together with the submit button. Similar to that, I also assume there is a search field where the user is supposed to provide value for category. The moment he clicks submit, the data for category will come as a query string in the URL. So the URL will look like product/category category equal to electronics. And in this case, we need to use request param at request param within curly braces category and call the method product service dot get by category by passing category. Guys, before jumping into the next method, I just want to show you something. If you notice, there is a line under category which gives me an information unnecessary path variable definition. This means if your form field name, that is the text field name, is same as that of the parameter name, explicitly you don't have to specify it using request param. That is the message that it is providing over here for us. Like suppose say here if I am having it as cat, let me save it, the line is gone. But if I am having it as category, automatically I am getting a line and it is asking me to remove implicit web annotation name. So if your form field name and your method parameter name are same, you don't have to explicitly specify it within request param. If they are different, you need to add it within request param. Because they are same, I have removed it. Okay. Let me move on to the next method. Get by brand price less than. For this also, let me use request param. So first let us frame the URL. localhost colon product API v1 product slash brand slash price question mark brand equal to Samsung ampersand price equal to 30,000, and I will change the URL pattern here, brand slash price. Here also let us add at request param annotation. And guys, here I forgot to add at path variable. In case of path variable also it is the same scenario. If your path variable name and your method parameter name are same, you don't have to explicitly specify it within path variable annotation. Okay, let me copy this path variable. I will add it in the second method where I forgot. Okay. Now let us call the method of product service dot get by brand price less than. We will move on to the next method. Here we will use path variable only at get mapping product slash price, and I have to pass the path variable slash price and add at path variable annotation. Now within the method, let us call the method of product service dot get by lesser price by passing price. Let me add the appropriate URL also, product slash price slash 10,000. Okay, the next method, get by category name. This also let us have it using path variable only. Which one is better, path variable or request param? Internally, when applications are communicating to each other, the best way is to use path variable. But there are certain places where end user intervention is needed. Say for example, in a delivery app, when I click pay button, it is asking me to enter the OTP. This means the data is taken through a text field. So we need request param. Sometimes it is asking me to enter the amount. Say for example, I have to store some amount in a particular app. In those scenarios, text fields are used to get the data from end user. In those cases, use request param for REST APIs. But there are scenarios where I scan the code and the amount is implicit. The amount gets detected automatically. In those scenarios, we will be using path variable. Say for example, if you are trying to book a ticket by scanning the code, in that case, implicitly the amount is taken. In those scenarios, use path variable so that the amount is automatically taken into the method. I hope it makes sense. Wherever you are entering your OTP or your amount, in those places, request param will be used. Wherever you are scanning and the amount is taken automatically, path variable is getting used. Okay. Now product slash category slash within curly braces category slash product hyphen name slash within curly braces name. For both the parameters we need to use path variable. In the second case, it is mandatory that I need to pass the name because the path variable name is different from the parameter name. And let us call the method product service dot get by category name by passing category and product name. And the next method, I'll add the URL also for this. The last two methods are similar only. Get products by brand. Guys, already we are having a similar URL on the top. In this case, there will be a clash. So, let me give it as products brand. You will not have the same method again in a particular application. In our case, one we did using derived query, one we did using named query. So what I have done is I have given a different name. Technically it should be product/brand/brand only. And let us add path variable annotation for this and add the URL. This is for brands. This is products/brand. Maybe let me change it to N brand or something. This URL is way too big, N brand. And call the method return product service dot get products by brand by passing brand. Okay, and the last method get by category price less than slash category within curly braces category slash price within curly braces price. Guys, the URL pattern should not match. If they are matching, then there will be a conflict, because all the methods that we have used till now are using get mapping. These two look similar, but in this case it is product name, here it is price. Okay. Return product service dot get by category price less than. Very good. Add path variable annotation for both the parameters. Okay. And the URL looks like this. And the URL for this method is, instead of product name, it is price /1000. Okay. We have completed writing the logic for all the methods that are annotated with @get mapping, except for get by ID. I hope this part is clear. It is very simple. You need to annotate the method with @get mapping, pass the proper URL, decide whether you want to use path variable or request param. Based on that, provide the URL pattern. Okay. Now let me add the code for get by ID also. This is @get mapping. The URL is /products/product ID /curly brace product ID, and add path variable annotation. Guys, in this case I am matching the path variable with the parameter name, so that I don't have to pass it within path variable. You might be wondering, she told that I am not supposed to use camel case, then how come she is using it? This is path variable value, so you can add it. But this is the URL pattern. In URL pattern, do not use camel case or uppercase, use only snake case. But this is the value that will be provided by the client application. They will not use product uppercase ID. They will be providing value for this product ID. Now let me call the method return product service dot get by ID by passing the product ID. 3 more methods are left out. Let us write the complete coding and then we will move on to test our REST API. The first one is delete mapping. In case of delete mapping, it is expecting us to provide the product ID. Just similar to this URL, we will add the URL for delete mapping also. Though it looks same, in the first case it is delete mapping, in the second case it is get mapping. Let me use path variable annotation. Okay, and call the method product service dot delete product by passing the product ID. Okay, what about the URL? For get by ID, product/product-id /10. For delete mapping also it is the same. For delete mapping and get mapping, the URL looks the same, but the method is different, so there will be no conflict. Now let us come to post mapping. In all these methods that we have seen till now, the data is coming from the database. We are sending the data to the client application. That is, we are sending a resource to the client application, which is list of products by a particular category or by particular brand. based on a condition. But in the first case, add product, the data is coming from the client machine to the REST API so that the data or the resource can be saved in the database. Meaning to say that you are creating a new resource in the REST API. How does the data come? The method that is getting used is post method. If the method is post, the data comes in the body part of the request. So, we will be using an annotation called as request body at request body. Now, the complete product object is sent from the client application to this REST API. Now, let me call the method of product service. Product service dot add product by passing product DTO object. Similarly, in case of put mapping also it is the same scenario. I want to update an existing product. Say for example, you have registered yourself to a particular website. Now you want to change your phone number and address. In that case, you will go and click a button where it says edit profile. When you click edit profile, it allows you to change many of the text fields, as in you cannot change the username, you cannot change your unique email ID, but it will allow you to change your phone number, your city, your street, your last name or whatever extra is required. So in that case also, the complete data of the user has to be updated in the database. So in this case also, the complete data is coming in the body part of the request. I can retrieve it using at request body product service dot update product by passing the product object. Let me add the URL for those two. Because it is post mapping, the data comes in the body part of the request, no query string. So the URL looks like this only. In case of put mapping, the URL looks similar but the method name is different, so there will be no conflict. Okay guys, we have successfully completed writing the code for our controller. I hope this is clear. The next step is we need to go and add the configuration details in SRC main resources. Till now we were working with application.properties. In this application, let us create a YAML file. Select SRC main resources, right click new file. Give the file name as application.yml. Now you are supposed to provide the URL, username and password, which is data source specific configuration, and you also have to provide JPA specific configuration, whether DDL auto is update or create, whether you want to see the SQL statements. Okay. How do you write the YAML file? The YAML file comes with indentation. Let me show it to you. Let me simply type data source dot URL and let me press enter. In this case, you can see that this is indentation. I need to provide value for URL. You should provide a space after the colon. It is jdbc colon mysql colon / localhost colon 3306 / masterdb. This is the URL. Next, I need to provide value for username. spring.datasource.username. I don't have to type it out again. It is enough I add it below the URL. Don't press tab to reach this place. Press the space bar to reach below the URL. It is username colon. Give a space after the colon and add the value. No space after T. If you provide space after T, then your username is root space. Enter. There is a tab space. Space, password, colon, space, root. Okay. Be very careful with the indentation. If I add password directly below data source, now this becomes spring.password. But what we want is spring.datasource.password. Okay. Similar to this, let us add JPA specific configuration. I want show SQL. Spring.jpa.show SQL. This is true. Okay, next I want DDL auto. So let me just type DDL hyphen auto. Spring.jpa.hibernate.ddl auto. It is enough you select it, automatically it will add the indentation. We don't have to worry about it. Enter. So if you notice, Spring is the top level. Spring.datasource.url, Spring.jpa.showSQL, Spring.jpa.hibernate.ddl auto. In this case, it should be update. Okay. Guys, if you are practicing, it is better that you practice only with application.yaml, because going forward, microservices also prefer to use YAML file than properties file. Now all set. Our application is completed. We have added the configuration details also in application.properties. Let us run the application. Let me keep my fingers crossed. Select your application, right click, run as Spring Boot app. Let me maximize the console. Very good. The application has started successfully. Now let us test our application. Let me have Spring Toolsuite and Postman side by side so that I can see all the methods. To start with, we will try to retrieve the data from the database. So the first one is get all products. So it has to be localhost :8080 / product -API / v1 / products. Press enter. Here I have got the list of products. See the SQL query that is generated. Select star from product. Now next is I want to get the product by ID 1. Here I am having it. So it is product / product -ID /1. In this case also the HTTP method is get. Press enter. Now you can see the appropriate SQL query that is generated. Select star from product where product _ID equal to question mark. Here we have got the output. Next is get the list of products by brand. Already we are having the URL, no, so I can just copy that URL and paste it over here. Control C. Get the list of products by Samsung. Yeah, very good. I have got few products by Samsung. Next is by Samsung and product name should have phones. So this should be Samsung / product -name / phones. Enter. Earphones, headphones. Okay. So we have seen few methods for path variable. Let us see few methods for request param also. By category, get the list of products by category. We have added the query string directly over here. Now the URL is ready. Enter. Now it has to return me the list of products by electronics. Here I have got the output. Next one. Get the list of products by a particular brand and price less than 30,000. Okay. In this case also I have added the query string. Let me press enter. This is returning me a list of products where the price is less than 30,000. Here I have got 2,000 and 8,000. Maybe here purposefully I will change it to 6,000. So this time I am getting the list of products where the brand is Samsung and the price is less than 6,000. So we have seen how to use request param, how to use path variable. Now let us go to the boss, because this is my favorite method. Add product and update product. Okay. In case of add product, we are supposed to provide the product data in JSON format. Guys, I forgot to tell you, whatever you are getting is the data in JSON format. Similarly, when the client wants to add a new resource to the database, he has to send the data in JSON format only. Now, let us see how to use post mapping for adding a new resource to the database. The HTTP method is post, the URL is still products. Then click on body. Here go to raw. The data should be sent in the form of JSON format. Now I need to add the product data in JSON format. So within curly braces, we can provide the product data. To avoid typos, I would suggest copy one product object from here. Add it. Now I will pull this down. Let me add a new product. Camera. Product ID is not required. Brand is Nikon. Category electronics. Price 20,000. Guys, remember to check whether it is in JSON format. Remember to check whether the method is post. Now click send. Very good. I am getting the status as 200 OK. The method is not having any return type. It is void. How to check whether this particular product is added to the database? Now what we can do is get the list of products where the brand is Nikon. I am having only one single product. Click send. Let me pull this up. Yeah, here I have got the output. Now the product ID is 302. If you want to check with that, that also is fine. Product -ID /302. Enter. We are getting the same output. Okay. How to use put method? What is the purpose of it? Put method is used for updating a resource in the REST API. So in that case, go and select put. The URL is still products only. Now in the body, in the same way you need to provide it. But remember, you are updating a resource. This means you have to provide the product ID. If you don't provide the product ID, in the backend, it will assume that you are trying to create a new resource. Why? If you don't provide any ID, what happens is, in the backend, we are using save method. What will save method do? It will first check whether this particular document is having an ID. If there is no ID, it will check whether it has to be auto-generated. If it has to be auto-generated, it will generate a new ID and save it as a new row. If you are passing an ID, in that case, it will go and check whether that ID is available. If it is available, it will update that particular row. Remember this, if you are updating, it is mandatory that you need to pass ID as one of the property. In our case, the ID is 302. Remove the comma. Let me change the price from 20 to 34. Change the product name to digital camera. Click send. Okay. Again, how to check it? Product-ID/302. Guys, when you are using get method, whatever you are adding in the body part doesn't matter at all. That will not be even considered. Let me click send. I should get the updated product. Digital camera and price is 34,000. Okay. Finally, I want to delete this particular product. So go here, instead of get, select delete. Product/product ID/302. Click send. 200 OK. Guys, in case of update, add and delete, we have not added any return type. So you are not seeing any output in the response. Click send. Fine. How to check whether it is deleted or not? Again, I will use get method. I will try to get a product by this particular ID. We don't have a product with this ID. I am expecting an exception. Let me check in the response. Here it is not throwing the exception. Let us check in our code. Maximize console. In the console also I am not getting any exception. So let us check our product service IMPL. Get by ID method. Okay. See here we are not handling the exception. Here we are calling find by ID method by passing the product ID. The product ID is 302. We don't have a product with this particular product ID. So the product optional is empty. We are checking in for a condition. Only if it is present, it has to convert the product into product DTO object and send it to the controller class, or else return null. Instead of returning null, I can throw the exception. Guys, you can do this using Streams API also. Throw new product not found exception by passing the error message. Invalid ID. Save it. The application is restarted automatically. Go back to Postman. Click send. Now here we are getting the exception, that is the error message. At the same time, in the console also the exception will be thrown, because this is a runtime exception, invalid ID. But guys, remember, whenever an exception occurs in the REST API, it has to be handled properly, converted into a JSON object, then it has to be sent to the client application. In this case, the default error message is converted into JSON object and sent it to the client. This exception handling in REST API is an advanced topic. Of course, I am having a video on that. You can just watch that directly. We are not covering that particular topic in this video. I hope we have completed most of the methods in our controller class. You can try with all the methods. Finally and successfully, we have completed our project. Okay, guys, I hope this is clear. We have finally and successfully completed creating a REST API for our product domain model in an e-commerce application. We have developed this application using layered architecture, as in we have created controller, service, repository layer. We have also performed CRUD operation with the database. I have explained you what are the different ways of querying the database also. Then we have also learned how to test our REST API using Postman. We have tried and tested all the HTTP methods with the appropriate mapping annotations. I hope this is clear. Do watch this video, try this project and share your comments. And also let me know if you are able to complete this project successfully without any errors. Let us learn, code and grow together. Thanks.